Bam. Hello. Okay, so we are having a look at this article first off for today's AIM, and it is Stop Wasting Precious Cash. Can anybody tell me what type of article this is? What type of article is it?
Anti-postal.
Good. It's an editorial. It's an editorial. Can anyone tell me how Sarah figured that out? How did she know it was an editorial? Good. No author. As soon as there's no author, you know that it's an editorial. If it's got an opinion and there's no author, it's got to be an editorial. Now, if it's an editorial, whose opinion is it? Don't say the editor. That's a trick. Good. It's the newspapers, which means most of the time that it is the people or conglomerate that own the newspaper. It's their opinion. Okay, and if you live in Australia, then it is Murdoch's opinion, because he pretty much owns all of our newspapers, doesn't he? Like 70% of newspapers. So, Fairfax. Winner. Yeah. Anything that's called Fairfax is his. Which is why we got very little publicity when he basically broke like 1 million laws in the UK by like wiretapping everyone's phone. We didn't hear about it much in Australia because he owns all our newspapers. And so he's like, oh, we might just skip that news article. Yeah, why would I want to put in something bad about myself? Anyway, so this is from the NT News, non-territory news, and it is an editorial, so why don't I just put that in. Okay, so it's August 9, so it means it's just before we decided that we were going postal vote. The rumour was that we were going to go postal vote. It hadn't gone yet. Okay, so the date is really important to these because it kind of sets the scene for or why are they arguing that particular point. Okay, so here it is. To say the federal government has allowed same-sex marriage, has allowed the legalisation of same-sex marriage descend into a farce is putting it lightly. A failed attempt late last year to hold a plebiscite on whether same-sex marriage should be voted on in Parliament has done nothing to stop them pushing ahead with a similarly doomed plan. Common sense would say it's highly likely that the Senate will again reject the government's unchanged proposal for a compulsory plebiscite. Because why would it change its vote in just a little under a year? Nothing in the space has changed apart from Australians' growing frustration with what should be a straightforward process. So, the backup plan from the government is that Australians will have their say on same-sex marriage in November by way of a $122 million non-compulsory postal vote. If the plebiscite somehow gets through, and accounting from the firm PwC Australia says taxpayers will be on the hook for $525 million once the cost of the campaigns and lost productivity is taken into account. The problem, of course, is that we already know that most Australians support same-sex marriage and just expect our elected officials to get on with the job and pass the laws. Poll after poll, including on the NT News' own show, the majority of Australians support same-sex marriage or don't care enough to fight against it. The NT News says all opinions for or against same-sex marriage are valid and worthy to be heard, but the pointless waste of tax money is not. The millions spent paying for plebiscites, which our pollies wish to use to sidestep their duties in Parliament, could be much better spent to increase pensions, provide free travel for the elderly, lower costs of living, or provide bill relief for our nation's most vulnerable. Our online poll yesterday of more than 2,000 people showed 72%, or almost 3 in 4 respondents, supported changes to the Marriage Act. A postal vote equates to time and money wasting of historic proportions. Enough time and resources have been taken up by this debate. It is 2017, and countries such as Canada, France, the UK, the US, and Ireland have all managed to give their citizens equal rights. Yet, here we still are being subjected to political point scoring. Same-sex marriage appears to be destined to be legalised in this country, like it already has in most other Western nations. Whether you agree with it or not is not the issue now. It is whether we want to waste precious money on a pointless exercise. So, that's the article. Nice kind of short, very clear article, so it's a nice one to kind of start off with. Let's talk about what the contention is. What do you think the contention of this article is? What is the overarching message? Nicholas?
Don't use a postal vote.
Okay, so it is anti-postal vote. Okay, I'm going to type it here. Okay, contention. Yeah. Okay. The NT News contends that what? How can I say that a little bit more fancy than we should not do postal votes? And what is it particularly about them that they're really against? Because it's not just good. It's about the money. It's about the money. Which makes sense because you look at the title and you go, stop wasting precious cash. Okay, yeah, so that is the main point we're supposed to walk away with. So using the title of your article is a really good way of double checking that you've understood what the contention is. Okay, because usually you would put in your article's title what your main point is, what your main overarching message is, right? So it's a good way to just double check that you're on the right track if you're kind of a bit worried about it. Because ultimately, if you can't get the contention right, you're screwed for the rest of it. It's like, I was saying to my class before that, it's like with a maths equation, if you're writing down the maths equation and instead of a 2, you put a 5. All the rest of your working out is going to be wrong, even if every step you do is right, because you've stuffed up the initial thing, right? It's the same with the contention. If you stuff up the contention, all of the things that you are working towards are off kilter, so you're going to be wrong, okay? So we need to get that contention, so we double check it. Yes, I'm on the right track. So contends that postal voting is a waste of taxpayer money and therefore should not occur. Done. Easy. Okay. Other things that I like to establish early on are things like audience. So we know that it is the NT News. And as I informed you, the NT News is written where?
Northern Territory.
All right, so it's the Northern Territory.
Just a guess.
Just a guess. Territory.
In a background thing, if it was an exam, it would have where it's published. Like it would have Northern Territory News.
Yeah.
So, like you're relying on us now in class, but in the next exam, it would have the background information which you must, that will tell you it's usually an editorial or a letter or a response.
Yeah. So on the actual exam, they'll give you a little bit of like description of where these pieces have come from, so that will give you a bit of an idea of, okay, well, who would be reading this? Okay, so it'll say something like, this letter was dropped into mailboxes of people who were living in the area of Greensborough. And you go, okay, so it's Greensborough people. So the people from Victoria, they're people who are usually upper middle class people. You can make kind of certain judgments about them and like certain kind of thoughts about them. Okay, so Northern Territory. Okay, we know, Oh, I didn't include it on this one. This is an online newspaper, so that's probably worth knowing. Because who reads online news? Who would be reading online news?
This generation.
Good. So predominantly younger readers. What age bracket would you say? Do you think like 85-year-olds are on the reg?
Mid-20s to like 40s.
Yeah, I'd say 20s to 50. Go 20 to 50. That would be a pretty. Yeah.
It would change again too if it was a subscription.
Yeah.
And that would make it really specific.
Really wrong readers.
Yeah. Because that would then cut off half the reach.
Ages
when I click onto like notes on the article and you have to pay for it, it's like
I'm not reading it yet.
yeah, I'm not reading it. Close the tab.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. And the fact that it's from the Northern Territory is important too, because they obviously have different issues to what, say, Melbourne people have with plebiscites and postal votes and the money waste. Notice what he says about the money waste, where he says, millions spent, this is just here, millions spent paying for plebiscites, which are pollies used to sidestep, blah, 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 could be used to increase pensions, provide free travel for the elderly, lowering costs of living, or provide bill relief for our nation's most vulnerable. Who do you think those ideas appeal to?
Lower cost of living.
Increased pension, free travel for elderly, lower costs of living. Yeah, I think it's actually predominantly older people, isn't it? I would say it's predominantly older people that's supposed to appeal to, because like people who are probably like either caring for somebody who's elderly or elderly themselves.
My mother, who's 71, and her husband, who's 72, are online fanatics. Like, they're always on their devices.
That's true.
Like, it's like, put it down. They're always reading news and updates.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, honey, there's a car crash, like, in another state. Let's avoid that area. And I just look at them going, oh my God, please tell me I was adopted. Yeah, so I would say online people are, because they don't like, the newspaper's really thin these days, and
hard to read.
they're all like,
It's really little.
for this online, you get all of this plus this plus this.
And they've got all the time in the world to read it.
Oh, hell yeah.
My grandmother reads every newspaper every day. I'm not even kidding. She has subscriptions to them all. They all get delivered. She literally spends like 4 hours a day reading the newspaper.
I feel like
And
that'd be
then
a
she
waste of money.
She loves it. She loves it. It's
Wouldn't it be better for you to buy
whatever you're
a
into.
laptop and then read
Nah,
news
she's scared of
online?
technology. She's pretty sure that someone's gonna like stalk and kill her if she
So
uses
she's
technology.
conservative.
Yeah, she's just like she's just super paranoid. My
My grandmother's
grandmother's super paranoid.
we tried to get
I adore her, but she is paranoid about the technology. Okay, so even though we have said that we would think it would be predominantly young readers, the appeals are to older people and their concerns,
Baby
as
boomers.
in
And Generation X, which is me. Gee, that's scary.
So really, we're looking at baby boomers. Appeals.
Because old people love free stuff.
Talks about discount travel, and obviously the people who can take advantage of discount travel are people who are retired. Yeah. Pension increases. It talks about, and the other thing it talked about that I was like, oh, that's for old people. What was it? Oh, lower costs of living, because obviously if you're on the pension, yeah, but like particularly if you're on a pension, like you've got for me, if cost of living went up, I could look at other jobs, couldn't I? I could apply for another job. If you're retired, you either have your pension or you have your super, so you're locked into the amount of money that you have. So a big thing that people who are retired worry about is cost of living, because they don't have a control over that. And that, when you look at their voting, that is predominantly what they vote about, is cost of living. So if you want to win over the old people, you go for cost of living.
Oh, yeah.
It's why they vote predominantly Liberal, because Liberals are about cost of living. There you go. A little bit of life learning. All right, so we've got our audience, and I think we're definitely looking at this audience. I think that's our audience. Okay, really interesting. So Northern I guess, what do they call themselves? Territorians?
Territorians, yeah.
So Territorians that
Wait, then
are
what do people in the ACT call themselves?
idiots. Pretty sure. Yeah.
I agree with that.
It must be. So Territorians who are in that baby boomer bracket that are either retiring or they are close to retiring. Cool? Okay. So thinking about that, let's now, so we've established what the contention is, we've established what the audience is, and that's important because it talks about like how things are being interpreted, right? Let's talk about particularly, sorry, I'm going to zoom out a little. I can do that without wrecking it too much. Okay. Let's talk about arguments. Let's talk about arguments. What arguments do you see there? Because I've got it all written down on mine because I did this in advance and I was organised. I know, watch out, guys. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? What are the arguments? Can we like, so there's two ways you can do arguments. Okay, you can either box them and go, okay, so this first bit is all about one thing. This second bit is all about something. This third bit is all about something else, etc. Right? You can box it. Yeah. Right? But it doesn't always work. That's not a foolproof way of finding your arguments, because sometimes people argue in a disorganized fashion, right? And they kind of talk about one argument and then they go, oh, and then I'm going to talk about something else, and then they come back to it. Yeah. So boxing it doesn't always work. So it's kind of good to do a bit of both. I always kind of start off by going, can I box it? And go, it's about this, then this, then this. And if I can't, then I go, okay, go to my other alternative, and that is, okay, what were the main things I was supposed to take out of this? And then I start dot pointing my ideas. What are the main things that I take out of this? All right, so let's see if we can box it first. So, to say the federal government has allowed for legislation, da-da-da-da-da. Let's have a look all together. You guys have a look. See if you can kind of see. And remember, when we say argument, it doesn't necessarily have to be argument. It's more like this is all about one thing. This is all about another thing. It's more like a commonality or like an idea that it discusses. So this is the first idea it addresses. Okay? All right, I already see a bit of a, do you see something that's kind of,
yeah, the first 5.
Yeah, I'd say all that is about one thing. So it's saying it's a farce, to put it lightly. It's a failed attempt. Common sense would say this isn't going to happen. Why would people change their vote in 1 year? Nothing has changed in the space, except that we've got more frustrated. What is the commonality between all of those things?
It's about the government and the people.
Yeah, it's about like that this is a stupid idea. Basically, we're supposed to read those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those first 5 paragraphs and go, that's dumb. Why are you doing that? You're dumb. That's dumb. Now remember, these are just our notes to begin with, so you can literally write argument 1, postal vote is dumb. That's fine. These are your notes. You write whatever you want. Okay? Now remember, at this point, they don't know whether it's going to be a plebiscite or a postal vote. So you have to kind of go plebiscite / postal vote is pointless. I'm going to say pointless instead of dumb because, I don't know, because I'm fancy. Because there's nothing fancy about saying it's dumb. All right, so let's read the next bit. So the backup plan, same-sex marriage, is going to be money. Problem, of course, we already know that they support it. Okay. Poll after poll, blah, 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 blah. They don't care enough to fight it. Okay, so this is where he's getting a little jumpy, isn't he? He kind of, this paragraph is about the cash. And then this paragraph is about the cash. These two
They're about same sex.
are about like everybody wants it, nobody gives a shit. True?
Yep.
Yeah? So I would say my second argument would be money, right? It's costly. Costly, and it is a waste of money. Okay, I'm going to actually highlight these so that we have them all organised because I like to be organised. How's that on the eye? That's okay. And then this one is about the money, and so I'll make this, what do you think, green for money?
Green, yes.
Yeah? Green, like sweet, sweet cash. Only $100 bills are here. Yeah. What do they call them? Crocodiles. Yeah, so like green ones are crocodiles, and then the $50 bills are pineapples. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
But I can't remember what you call $20.
Blood.
I don't know the rest of them. It's orange. They're not red, are they? They're kind of reddy orange. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Blood orange.
But if someone says, hand me that pineapple, then now you know what they're talking about. Because I remember working in retail once and somebody said, oh, I'll give you a couple of pineapples. And I was like, it was very confusing. It was super confusing.
I think I'll look that up and start using that.
It was so weird. Yeah. Apparently, crocodiles, pineapples. It's like old dad jokes, I reckon. It's like a dad joke to call
Watch,
it a
now that
pineapple.
you've said that, everyone who's going to be watching the YouTube video is going to pause the video and look it up.
Yeah, pause it. Look it up. What's a $20 called? I would like to know.
Put it in the comments
Hey,
below.
YouTube.
Yeah, put it in the comments below. Nobody comments.
Hello, what is the $20 bill called?
Yeah, nobody comments though, except UG once, which was ironic because he was there at the time. And I don't know, this other guy who's like, "Can you teach me English?" And I was like, "No, I cannot help." Sorry, man. Unless you're gonna pay me. Lots of money. If you're still
You should tell
listening.
them that.
All right. Where was the other bit about money? Oh, here. Wasting money. There we go. Bang. All right. And then we said
A
what?
lobster.
A lobster. That's right. It is actually. Yeah. Give me a couple of bloods. That just doesn't have a good ring to it.
Blood notes.
Give me the blood.
It's a lobster, yeah.
Oh, it.
Wait, that's about same-sex marriage. So what you need to do, you need to alternate between red, orange,
Oh, I
yellow,
can't do that.
green,
That's
blue,
too much work.
purple.
It's gonna be red. Red. It's gonna be blood. Nah,
I feel
that
like-
looks bad. It's hard to read.
Because
Unless you
there
make
we
the
go,
text
Polly's
white.
trying to
Make the
shirk their
text
duties
white.
and
Too much effort.
No, I've already used pink, haven't I? I'm out of options. Oh, poo. I give
Go
up.
yellow.
Red?
Yellow.
You reckon red? I'm gonna have to. Oh, okay. Now it's gone. It's gone.
Just change the color of the...
Yeah, you can change the colour of the text.
Oh, okay. Oh no, stuffed it.
No, highlight it. Yeah, highlight it
Like
red.
that.
Okay.
There you go.
Right.
That
Okay.
looks
Oh, so much work. Right. Okay. So the problem is that most people don't care, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's another argument, which would be that most people support it. You know, most people support same-sex marriage, and so the vote is pointless. Scan back up. The millions spent paying blah, 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 which just sidestep their duties, da, da, da. Yep, I would put that in money as well, so let's go green.
Yep. And the one about...
The online poll, good, yep, the online poll, that's definitely red. Red, and then I need the
also
white.
has a counter argument that the pollies, that big argument, the pollies are getting us to do their work that we pay them for.
Yeah, so
That's kind of like a
I
double
think,
banger.
yeah, I think that actually
I
either
would put that in
goes,
a different colour.
yeah, I would too. Let's have a look at here. The postal vote equates to time and money wasted on historic proportions. Enough time and resources has been taken up about this debate. It is 2017 and they've all been, I reckon this...
The first two sentences are green, the next sentence
Do you think they're green? I actually think they're pink. Sorry, blue. I actually think they're blue, like the pointlessness. I kind of put that in that. I reckon it's blue.
It's kind of both. It's kind of both. Yeah,
It is, yeah. And then I reckon this bit is red. Yeah. Okay.
Make it white.
You and your fiddling around with the computers. Ugh. Here we go. Oh, I stuffed it again.
Good job.
Oh. This is why I am too old for this.
What? Yeah, you got political point scoring that argument about sidestepping their duties.
Hang on, I'm still struggling at life. God, I tell ya, too old for this. Too old. And I gotta go there, and then there, and then there, and then there, and then there. Ugh. Okay.
You did it! Yay!
Right.
That's not so good.
Nearly there. Yet, here we are still being subjected to political point scoring.
That goes with the sidestepping.
Yeah, I feel like that too, yeah. But do we want to make that an argument of its own is the question, isn't it? Let's keep going. Guys,
You can put it with the argument.
hang on. Let's get everyone focused again. Okay, so we do have a statement here that we go, oh, that's kind of another argument in itself, but it's only one sentence. Now, you could just kind of leave it out of your discussion, so you didn't have to do a whole nother argument. It's really up to you. Or you could kind of blend it in with one of your original ones. Okay, so you could kind of change this, like the idea is pointless, and being misused by politicians. And that way you could then go, okay, well, I'll just put that in the blue. Put it in the blue. Same-sex marriage appears destined to be legalised in this country like it has in other Western nations. That would be red. Whether you agree or not is not the issue now. It is whether we want to waste our precious money. That is the green. Done. So, as you can see, this one doesn't split up easy. And they don't always. So, it's best to just kind of go through carefully and trust your gut a bit. And go, all right, well, what are the main bits that I can find? What are the main arguments that I see, the main points, and come back, okay? And just kind of pick through. You don't necessarily have to be as kind of particular as we've been and kind of highlight each bit. That's probably a little bit pedantic and you're not going to have time in the sack. But while you're still getting used to finding arguments, particularly if you're somebody who struggles finding arguments, it might help, okay? I usually just kind of draw circles and just write like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then write out my arguments 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just number them through because it's just quicker than highlighting because yeah, obviously time is of the essence in the SAC. So that might be a way to do it. Okay, so we've got our arguments. Yay! So we've got 3 arguments, which will mean how many paragraphs will we probably write? 3, good, because we will do 1 paragraph per argument, just like we do with anything. Okay, excellent. All right, so we've got our contention, we've got our audience, we've got our argument. Here comes the bit that people hate, and I don't know why, but I'm actually changing my approach very much to teaching how to find persuasive techniques. Hands up if you find finding persuasive techniques is hard and you can't do it. Hands up if it's like, I can't find them. I can't find them. It's like needle in a haystack. Okay, that's all right. We're going to try something new. And I tried it on Brianna today, and it worked. I experimented on her, and it worked. So, you know, that's got to be good. And she said she's never been able to find them before. So it's got to work. Okay, so what I want you to do is we're going to go through this again, and I don't want you to look for techniques at all. At all, at all. Don't look for them. Don't go, oh, where are those question marks? They're the rhetorical questions. Don't look for them. Okay? Don't look for the we. Don't look for, oh, that's emotive language. Don't worry about it. Look for things that pull you. Okay? Because the whole thing about being persuasive is trying to pull someone to their side, right? You're trying to pull their attention to a particular argument, okay? It's about pushing and pulling. What I want you to look for is where you feel your gut being pulled to that argument, to his contention, where you feel him going, hey, you should agree with me. I want you to look for those, just the strongest ones that you feel, that you go, yeah, that's definitely being persuasive. I don't know what it's called, but I know that he's trying to persuade me there. Okay? So, let's have a look. And I want you to draw a circle around it. If it's a word, draw a circle around the word. If it's a phrase, around the phrase. If it's a paragraph, the whole paragraph. So go through now. Have a bit of a look. I can tell you there's lots. That's what my page looks like. So there's lots. And I've not labelled a single one. If you get there and you find one and you have a particular reaction, so you're like, oh, I feel really disappointed. Write just disappointed next to it. So go through, have a read, see if you find anything. Once you find something, yell it out to me. If you find, yeah?
Is the one where they were listing stuff like Parliament could the millions spent paying for plebiscites, and when it goes into increased pension, provide free travel, so it's like appeal.
Good one. Yeah, okay. So Sarah's talking about this paragraph where it says the millions spent paying, which our pollies wish to use to sidestep their duties, could be much better used to increase pensions, provide free travel for the elderly, and lower the cost of living. Good. All right. That is definitely persuasive. Okay. Why is that persuasive? Why does that make you feel when you go, oh, you could have free travel for the elderly, lowering costs of living? Yeah. Okay. Good. It makes you feel annoyed. Can we be more descriptive than annoyed? Because, like, lots of things annoy me. Like, Adrian talking right now is annoying, but, like, not this annoying, but annoying.
Like, would anger be, like, too strong?
Yeah. Anger.
I reckon it will be justified.
What else? If you kind of find out that plebiscites are costing millions of dollars that could be spent on your nana, how do you feel?
Cheated?
Yeah, cheated. Disgusted. Outraged. Yeah? That's what we want you to be able to do. Okay? Because, so when we do analysis, hopefully you remember these 2 questions. I'm going to bring up 2 questions on the board for you that I'm going to stick up in our room again because someone nicked them. I had them up in the chapel last year and then they just disappeared. I don't know, if they just asked, I would have just given them a poster. You know,
There's
I would have
one
even
for year
laminated it
11
for them.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just put one up.
Yep.
Yeah. So there are 2 questions when we do analysis, and where's my analysis posters? Poster?
Hopefully not
There.
the Romeo and Juliet essay.
No. These 2, here they are. These 2 questions. What is the technique attempting to make the reader think or feel? What did we just write? Annoyed, cheated, anger, disgust, outrage. You've answered the first question. That's what I want you to be able to do. I don't care if you can't label it. The label isn't important. The important thing is, can you analyse what they're doing? The label means nothing. And in fact, I don't want you to label them anymore. I just want you to talk about these 2 questions. Okay? If you can talk about these 2 questions, that will be great. Okay? So, anger, cheated, disgusted. The second question asks you, how does this thought or feeling make the reader more likely to agree with the contention? So how does me feeling cheated, disgusted, outraged make me more likely to agree that the postal vote is a waste of taxpayer money? What do you think? If I feel disgusted and cheated, why does that make me more likely to agree? How does it make me more likely? Good, yeah, that I'm like, what? That's my money they're wasting. That's outrageous. I'm going to think, well, they shouldn't be doing that, and therefore the postal vote should not be going ahead, because I want that money spent on my nana, please. Does that make sense? That's what you've got to do. You've got to be able to kind of go, right, they are creating this feeling in me so that I will feel like they've wasted the money, and I will not want that postal vote to go ahead so that they are not wasting the money. Make sense? That's what you got to do. That's all you got to do. It's as easy as that. Okay? So, let's have a look. Can we find another one? Can we find another bit?
Countries such as Canada, France, the UK, the US and Ireland have all managed to give their citizens equal rights.
Right. What is that trying to make me think or feel or whatever? Like, what does that generate in me?
Disappointment.
Good. A majority of, I would say, well-respected countries. Countries that we consider, countries that we consider our equal, because Australia is a snob. And we would not like to be compared to, say, I don't know. Who wouldn't we want to be compared to? New Zealand. Well, New Zealand are way ahead of us. Let's say, let's say Iran. We wouldn't want to go, oh, well, you know, we're on the same level as, like, Iran. We'd go, hey. We're way more fair than Iran. Come on now. We're way better. Or like, oh, we are on the same level as, I don't know, anywhere in Eastern Europe, let's say. Pretty much. Eastern European countries. We wouldn't like that.
Bulgaria.
Yeah. If we were like, oh, we are just as fair as Bulgaria, you'd be like, hey, we're better than that. You know, like, it's just the way we are. We're a country snob. It's who we are. Embrace it. Okay, so a majority of well-respected countries that we see as equals have already done it. Which says to us what? If they've all done it, what does that say?
We're behind them.
We are behind. We don't like being behind. We are supposed to be the best. Yeah?
My favourite is the common sense would say. I start at the start.
Good. That we're behind. We need to catch up. That's definitely a ploy. Okay? And the other thing that I would note is this bit where it says their citizens equal rights. Instead of saying, they could have said, the UK, the US and Ireland have all managed to give same-sex couples marriage rights. Instead, it says, give their citizens equal rights. What's the difference? What's the difference? Yeah, and it kind of says, if you're not doing that, you are not treating people equally, which is a huge part of the same-sex marriage debate, is that they were saying, you are not treating us as full citizens because we can't marry. So we're not equal under the law. So it's playing into that argument that you are treating people as subhuman because they can't marry. Okay? Okay, so that's really interesting as well, because even though the contention of the article is not about same-sex marriage, there definitely is a message underneath about same-sex marriage, even though at the end of it it says whether you agree or not is not the issue. Does this person believe in same-sex marriage? This editorial, does it believe in same-sex marriage? Does it think, yes, people should marry? No? Why not? Why you shake your head?
It's just saying, like, it's just giving us an example, like same-sex marriage did this poster vote, but they're not for or against, it doesn't affect them. They just want it.
They are saying that they're not against, they're saying that, oh, it's not about that. Yeah. But I feel like they're saying it's not about that, but I think that they are actually pro same-sex marriage, because they're using the same arguments about that, like giving citizens equal rights, and then they're saying, oh, but like everybody wants it anyway, which again is another same-sex marriage argument, that they're like, oh, well, everybody supports same-sex marriage, so we don't need to have a vote on it because everybody supports it. There is an underlying message in this article of pro same-sex marriage. And you could add that in to either your contention or your arguments. You could say, and that would definitely bring you as a high range response, because not only are you noticing the main contention, but you're noticing an underlying message that isn't like outrightly saying, but it's like underneath. If you have a look at the first article that's in your article pack, which is about the monarchy, you'll notice that that has a very, very quiet underlying message of pro-monarchy, like pro-keeping the royals. And mentioning those kind of like underlying messages are what examiners are looking for. That, have you kind of noticed there's something else going on there that's very, very subtle? It's like, you know, like movies with like Easter eggs, or like, you know, games with like Easter eggs in them, and you go, I see what you were doing there. Yeah, that's what it's doing. Let's write that down. Underlying message of pro same-sex marriage. Just a little song I just put together. You're welcome. Yeah. All right, what else have we got? Come on. So we found 2. We need more than 2. I would say in an article this size, you should be able to find like 6 or 7 brilliant ones. I've found like 20, but you don't need 20. So like there's no point. I just did it because I was like, I'm here.
When you ask someone, common sense would say it's highly likely that. What's it actually telling you to do? Like common sense.
And what does it imply?
You know?
If someone says, well, common sense says this, what does it imply if you disagree?
That you don't have?
That you're dumb.
That you're an idiot because you don't agree with it.
You're dumb.
Because say common sense says this, and if you say, well, I don't agree with that, and they've said it's common sense, it makes you look like a
Idiot. Okay, so that's in the third paragraph. Common sense would say it's highly likely that the Senate will again reject the government's unchanged proposal. Okay, so what it's saying is like that the federal government who keep going to the Senate and asking, oh, can we have a plebiscite? No. Can we have a plebiscite? No. Can we have a plebiscite? No. Well, are you an idiot? They're not going to change just because you asked them again. That's what it's saying. Okay, so that would go with our first argument about that this is pointless and that the politicians are idiots. Okay?
They're like nagging children.
They're like nagging
They're like
children.
toddlers. Have you watched Parliament Time? Like Question Time at Parliament? It's like toddlers.
Yeah.
I'm watching my 4-year-old.
Or like Ty when he needs to go to the toilet. Can I go to the toilet, miss? No.
Why not?
10 minutes. Can I go to the toilet, miss? No.
Why not?
Ty.
Because.
No, you can't. No. Can't go to the toilet.
1 minute before the bell. Can I go to the toilet?
Oh, always. All right. Okay, so this one, that the politicians...
Blue.
I'm going to fix it. I'm just typing. It's going to be fine. That the politicians who are pushing for a plebiscite are lacking common sense and
morons. We don't trust them.
are therefore
Quite scathing.
morons.
All the stance is
Morons. Morons.
Morons.
All right, morons. Oh, the morons. The moron, the moron.
I just thought of that too. It went through my head.
Yeah. Okay. So now we got 3. What else? Now, what you want to do is try and get a persuasive technique for each of your arguments. At least 1, maybe 2. Because that way you've got something to put in each of your, in each of your paras. So far I've got 1 for my red, I've got 1 for my green, I've got 1 for my blue. Is that all I've got? Yeah, excellent. All right, maybe I would probably like to have another blue because I feel like the blue is probably like your bigger bit.
Is it blue the money?
Blue is, this is pointless and politicians are idiots. Yep.
I went for blue.
Yep.
It's the one right underneath, because why would its verge change in just a little under a year?
Good. And how does that make you feel?
I know, like, I kind of agree.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh my God, Daniel nearly died.
Are you like half asleep? Did you
Okay,
just fall asleep?
sorry, Massimo's talking and he's saying smart stuff. We've got to listen to him.
Come on, you ass.
He's saying smart stuff.
Like, kind of makes me agree. Like,
Yeah.
Why would they agree? Like,
It's a bit like the above, isn't it?
why would they change the vote?
Yeah, it's a bit like the above. It's like, Captain Obvious, mate. Come on. Why would they change just because you ask again? Like, it's been like less than a year. That seems foolish, yeah.
Nagging children.
Politicians.
Historic proportions. Oh, my head's pounding.
Politicians
Have you had a Panadol?
seem
I've just popped a few Panadol.
foolish.
A few? Don't OD. It says only
It's
2 at a time.
Panadol. My liver will just disappear, so...
All right. Okay, so we got another. Okay. What about something for this green bit? So the backup plan from the government is that they'll have this the same-sex marriage, blah, blah, blah. The $122 million non-compulsory postal vote will be on the hook for $525 million once the cost of campaigns and loss of productivity are taken into account. Nicolas.
Like, just the amount of money that they're going to spend.
$525 million? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of lobsters and pineapples
Precious money.
and crocodiles. It's a lot of money.
What is it for the $10?
Remember the first time your class or you were told that the plebiscite, that the postal vote cost $122 million? Were you not like, That's a lot of money.
I thought 122 million was quite cheap.
I actually thought it wasn't too bad.
I thought that's not bad.
But we have more insight into how much things cost.
But I thought the paper
But it's a
was
lot of
great.
money.
It's a lot of paper.
It's a lot of money.
means it's legalized.
I love the one in the book. No, the one of the videos it shows they've gone out.
Yeah.
They've filmed it raining on the postal votes. The mere fact that they're out there stalking letterboxes with postal votes, waiting for it to rain.
Honestly, with the amount of money that they would have spent on a plebiscite, they should have probably given every citizen $21.
But it kind of wasn't even a plebiscite, technically.
It wasn't. It was
Yeah,
a postal vote. We weren't even
I know it
forced.
was a postal vote, but I'm saying if they did do a plebiscite.
Anyway, let's stay focused. We've got to get this done before I let you all run off. Okay, so we feel outraged because of the huge waste of money. That's bad. We hate that. We hate it when they waste our money. And notice that it says taxpayers will be on the hook. It isn't this money has been spent. It's taxpayers. That is me. My money. My money.
Works.
Nah, they wouldn't earn enough yet.
Yeah.
They'd get it all back each tax
That's
time.
also an appeal audience. Those who work enough to.
Yeah. But like also, particularly the audience who are in this, they pay tax. The people who are reading this, the baby boomers, they pay tax. So they're peed off because this is their money. Yeah.
They got free university.
Plus, if the audience, the elderly, they're not working as much as those that are younger, so then if they have to pay taxes, they're not really benefiting out of any of it.
Exactly. So they're like, well, hang on a minute. Where's my sweet moolah going into stupid votes on things that don't even count? Outrageous. They're angry. You know, these are people who are saving for their own retirements, aren't they? Like they're trying to save for their own retirements. They don't want to spend bloody money willy-nilly. Not willy-nilly. That's such a grandma thing to say. Willy-nilly. Anyway.
And these are people, this target audience are people who are used to getting things for free. So their first homes were usually like 20 grand the most. They got big, huge government handouts. Free
They would be outraged at this kind of
free
money.
public transport, and now the cost of
Everything
everything's going
costs
up.
stuff.
So they're very worried about how much this will cost, how much that's going to. And remember, this is before superannuation, so they won't have huge super funds. So they're relying
Most
on
of them will go on
pensions.
pensions.
They're very,
So they're very angry when the government spends their pension money on dumb stuff because they're like, well, you could have given that money to us so that we could live a little bit more comfortably. So let's have one more for the red, one more for the red, one more for the road.
Which is the red again?
Red is about, what did we say? Hang on.
Same sex.
Same-sex.
Most people support same-sex marriage and therefore the vote is pointless. Okay, so let's grab one for the red.
The very bottom one.
Very bottom one. Same-sex marriage appears destined to be legalised in this country like it already has in most other Western nations. All right, how is that pulling me? What's that pull? What is that about? What am I feeling
It's
or
like-
thinking? Well, tell me. Okay, the Western nations thing, but let's do the other bit. Same-sex marriage appears destined to be legalised in this country. Yeah, that it's like, this is going to happen. Yeah, it's inevitable.
So why are we
It's gonna
wasting our
happen,
money?
so
It's
it's clearly a
reinforcing.
waste of money.
Yeah. So it's going to happen anyway, so why do we have to do something to happen anyway?
Good. Wonderful. That is what you are supposed to do. Not worry about where your question marks are. Don't look for question marks. Look for the tug. That feel of being pulled into an argument. They're the things I want. Does that make sense? So forget all the names. Forget them. I don't care about them anymore. VCAR have said they don't want you to label anymore. They don't want them. They want the pull. They want you to talk about the pull. not the name. Okay? You can do that though, can't you? You just have to be really aware of your own gut and feeling swayed, which means that first read is super important. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will send you this doc, so if you want it, I'll send it. Have a gorgeous evening. You're free. Hey, where was your brother?
Yeah, well,
Oh wait, miss, you've got to do an outro for the video.
Oh yeah, what do I have to do? Oh, you gotta like, comment, and subscribe. Like the video. Share it with your friends. Yeah. No, what do they say? They say things like, "I love you guys. I love you guys. You guys are like my family." Yeah.
Comment down in the comments.
Yeah, comment below about all the fun stuff. Yeah. Okay. Mwah.
Best outro
Mwah.
team.
Oh, gross.